You guys are not going to do that. And the first performer kicking off the evening is the one, the only, Margaret Fitzgerald. Hello.
Margaret Mary Catherine Frances Fitzgerald the First. Does anybody else have that name? So it's settled, it's just me. But yeah, Margaret Mary Catherine Frances Fitzgerald, it rolls really easily off the tongue if I do say so myself. But with a name like that, I'm obviously still a virgin. Any ideas? But I was never allowed a nickname growing up. I was really hoping for like a Maggie or Margot, but most people just call me Margaret. My parents call me a burden. You guys can do whatever and I'll probably respond. I don't really have a lot of self-confidence when it comes to that. And I don't really find myself finding that much more this late in life. Something could have been going on in my life. I recently quit my job. To be fair, I quit a job 8 years ago. But I've learned that when you tell people that you quit a job, boy, are they impressed. You guys all just applauded, but everyone's like, you should have got out there years ago. Like, they didn't deserve you. Like, that was a toxic work environment. I'm like, okay, I quit. Thank you so much. But the truth of the matter is that I actually lost my job a few months ago, which is a real doozy. But I found out that when you tell people that you lost your job, boy, are they sympathetic. It's a lot of people asking, like, oh, do you need me to spot you money? Or can I buy you this coffee? Do you need to go for a walk? And it's between, like, the encouragement I'm getting from quitting a job and the empathy I'm getting from losing a job, it's like, why are we even working? You know what I mean? Like, does anybody actually like what they're doing? But I am employed, so I am spending a lot of time at home, a lot of time alone, a lot of time not doing anything, which has its pros and cons. I would definitely say more cons. I'm referring to this time period as like my on abroad period. I feel like a lot of my friends are like traveling, buying houses, getting married, having babies. I'm very much on house arrest, self-prescribed for my own self-preservation, financially, physically, emotionally, mentally. So we're not doing a whole bunch, unfortunately. I'm spending a lot of time just like on my phone and not even like responding to texts in a normal time period. Just days go by, I'm like, oh, I should text them back. I've spent a lot of time on Google just asking the internet questions. One of my recent inquiries was, when does a snake's tail become its tail? There's the snake part of it, but I was pretty like, that's the tail. The internet had no answers, so I broke the internet. Another favorite question I recently asked is, how many raccoons can fit in a human anus? 4. What? Who tested that one out? I don't know. And then my personal favorite is, if I eat a seed and then eat a lot of dirt, will a plant grow inside of me? Yes. We have a few men in both Arizona and in the UK to thank for their own at-home experimentation. So that's interesting, right? But I don't want you to think that I'm like absolutely squandering this time that I have to myself alone forever. I'm trying to I'm learning Spanish, Duolingo. It's not really great, but I have found out some fun facts that I thought I'd share with you all. Did you know that the average age to be murdered is 29? Interesting. But the average age to be murdered, 35. Is anyone finding themselves in this age bracket? Run for the plucky, my dear. And I know you're all thinking, Margaret, there's no way you're that old. Bitch, I'm 32. So for the first time in my life, I found myself directly in the center of 2 places basically dying for me to be a part of them. Because do I want to kill people every day over like certain instances that I have with them? Absolutely. Do I want to die all the time? Sign me up. It does feel very interesting to be wanted by like 2 sides of the party, so I can't complain. Did you guys have like bring your kids to work day growing up and you go work with your parents? I remember being so excited because I finally got to figure out what my dad was doing from 8 to 5 every day. So I remember getting on my little business girl suit and walking to my dad's office with him, and he brought me into this little room, and there was about a pile of papers as tall as me, and I just spent the entire day shredding paper, and I was like, this is what my dad does? He was absolutely a lawyer, but to me, I was like, what is it? I was MVP, call it nepotism, I don't know, but like, I was amazing at that job. But realizing that society, we're becoming more progressive and, we're trying to be on the frontier of things. And I kind of realizing that maybe this is the turning point of us having put to rest some antiquated traditions. Therefore, I suggest, buy one on the days of bring your kid to work day, and I'm suggesting bring your friend to work day. And I do believe that this is when employers should allow every employee, once a quarter, I don't know, to bring one friend who's, I don't know, unemployed, hates their job, just doesn't really know what's going on, and just let them see what's going on at the workplace. Because I have a lot of friends, humble brag. I have a lot of friends who have jobs, and they tell me their titles, and I'm like, head of logistic, what does that even mean? But maybe, if I was exposed to those elements, maybe I'd be really good at it, maybe I would thrive, but I'll never know, because I was never given the opportunity. It's one of my biggest, it's genuinely one of my biggest fears, and I'm just living this life and I'm not doing what I didn't know existed to do. My biggest fear is that I actually am an egg donor. And I donate my eggs, and then years from now I'm sitting in Delta first class, and my seat neighbor is my egg donor daughter. But then my second fear is piggybacked off of my first fear, so I'm sitting in Delta first class years from now, and my egg donor daughter is next to me, and I'm like, what do you do, daughter, that I didn't know about? And she tells me, and it's my dream job. That's I cannot imagine anything worse, and it fills me with so much anxiety and fear that I wish I could have that opportunity. So, that is to say, after the show, if anyone's interested, I am free Monday through Friday, Saturdays and Sundays. Ideally, I'm not looking for a work from home situation because I was telling you how I'm doing a lot of the alone time already. So ideally, something that gets me out and about would be good. I don't bring a lot to the table. If you're ever wondering what the inspiration behind Creed's 1999 Human Clay album was, arms wide open and door to a normal childhood very much closed. I would say from the time that I was about 30 months old until I was able to register to vote, my mom treated me like her life-size doll. I would say any family gathering, bank holiday, any really scenario, this is the garb which I was wearing. This is a Thursday in ordinary life. Boa, a flower. And I'm sure you're all wondering, but Margaret, where does one find the trappings to look like a Victorian-era child ushering us to our seats for the latest guillotine? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Gibraltar Trade Center. Gibraltar Trade Center was a getaway for Metro Detroiters. It was the size of 6 football fields. It was more or less like a flea market, but it's where one could go to buy a family firearm, a rental rug, throwing stars, a hot pretzel, and some of these dresses. For me, it was 600,000 square feet of torture, but my mom does not like me to say that. But I would say probably from the time I was 1 year old until I was 16, 17, I would go to Gibraltar Trade Center with my mom 4, 5 times a year. And in the beginning, it was kind of understandable for the storekeeper not to say anything, but there was definitely a time when I was 12, 13, 14 when I would be crying in the dressing room being I don't want to do this anymore. And they're like, you look very good. Cut the act already, this is horrible. Luckily for me, Gibraltar Trade Center did close in 2017. It ironically opened the year of my birth. So I'm still trying to figure out some big event in my life that happened in 2017 to kind of mark the beginning and the end of something, but nothing's really come to me. So you're just getting this little picture to look at for a little while longer. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sure you're all thinking I have stories to tell Margaret. I want to share something about why I am the way I am. Well, I'm on the stage right now and you all pay tickets, so it's my turn to talk and I will not be silenced. Just kidding, thank you so much. I appreciate you and you all are better than me. Yeah, just to kind of clear the air on any questions that any of you may have of like why I am the way that I am, I just want to kind of give you a rundown of what was going on in the Fitzgerald household for the past 32 years. We're going to be discussing a few topics this evening, just so you'll clarify. Sex, death, and showbiz baby. I was raised in my church by my human mother, human father, and my 2 adult brothers. I don't think my brothers really like raised me as much as they did, is like just prepare me for what was going to happen in life. And by that I mean what a life of orthodontia will be like. And I think by the time I was 7 years old in first grade, I had lost all my teeth. A phenomenon, really. It was not natural. My brothers kind of figured out that if I had a little wiggle and they tied a string around it, then threw a football, a soccer ball, closed the door, a bow and arrow, the teeth came out like weirdly easily. So I was visited by the tooth fairy quite frequently in first grade, age 7. In second grade, all the teeth started coming in, but very much like a weather vane. Just pointing in different directions. So I did have braces and headgear and rubber bands for 10 human years. There was a small gap in time, like for 8 months I had them taken off and had to get 6 teeth pulled. Those are good times. So that's my brothers. My dad, he was a paper shredder. But he always wasn't around, to take care of me. But I remember one time in second grade I had the flu. And usually when I had the flu at home and my mom was watching us, it was the living worst because we couldn't even go downstairs and watch TV. We were stuck up in our bedrooms listening to the Rosary on tape until like the flu left us. So this one time in second grade I had a real bad flu. And my mom had some function and she couldn't watch me, so my dad stayed home from work and she kind of ran through like, oh, take her temperature, chicken noodle soup in the fridge, cold compress, whatever. I was in the family room, we were watching boring. We're watching Jerry Springer. All the baby drama, who isn't the daddy. And my mom comes home and she asks my dad, like, oh, how's Margaret doing? He's like, she's feeling better, but like, I don't know, something's really funky with this thermometer. Like, it's not, the numbers are crazy. It's at that moment that we realized as a family that my dad had been using the rectal thermometer. So I did projectile vomit in the family room as an act of revenge. And my dad didn't really watch me that much after that. It should go without saying that my family was not good at breaching topics that they didn't want to talk about. I was never given a sex talk or like, you're changing bodies. It was just kind of like, we'll figure it out. But certain topics that needed to eventually be addressed, my parents just kind of froze up and instead just looked for whatever daytime talk show host who did like a crash course on it and just kind of sat me down to figure it out. And growing up, my mom was obsessed with Oprah Winfrey. She loved Oprah more probably than she loves me. My mom would not miss an episode. The time slot of 4 to 5 when I got out of school was my cherished hour because I did whatever the fuck I wanted. I knew that my mom was not going to be like following me everywhere. But as I got older, certain topics needed to be discussed, or did they? And I remember my mom calling me in one day, 3:50, calling into the ladies' parlor. A room obviously named by my mom. It was a TV room that had a washer and a dryer and cleaning supplies in. And in hindsight, I'm like, that's not really a progressive name for a room, Mom. I digress. But I come to the ladies' parlor and I sit down, having the slightest idea how this is about to alter my brain chemistry for the rest of my life. And the segment is entitled, Is Your Child Living a Double Life? So I sit down, I'm watching Oprah, and a panel of sexperts tell mothers nationwide about the oral sex epidemic that is ravaging. And this expert goes into great detail talking about what it is to be tossed in the salad. An inordinate amount of time discussing rainbow parties. Okay, so apparently, girls my age, I was 9, this is like my pre-9/11 conscious, like, apparently girls my age are going to these rainbow parties, which entailed different girls getting a different color of lipstick to match the rainbow, and once every girl did her part of Roy G. Biv on a male member, it would resemble a rainbow. Commercial break came. My will to live was decreasing rapidly. And my mom just stared at me and asked me, are you going to these rainbow parties? Now let's remember, the teeth the situation with my teeth. I had braces, headgear, and rubber bands. And I remember telling my mom, I always hadn't seen a peener yet. And I tried telling my mom, I was like, yeah, Mom, I can maybe fit like a baby carrot or a pretzel rod in between. Like, I don't know what penises look like, but like, I don't think that's the situation. Oprah Winfrey finally went off the air. I genuinely believe it was like my mom's first time ever being depressed in her whole life. She was like at a complete loss. The Christmas decorations went up in October that year. It was like a big deal. But Tyra Banks soon came in to take her place. And my mom would call me in every now and then just to like see what was going on with Tyra Banks. And I don't think she liked Tyra Banks. She just really liked to see like a strong woman in power. And I watched Tyra Banks. She was discussing like the hottest fashion trends of the spring. And Tyra Banks discussed how you can wear like low rider jeans, a little kitten heel, and just top it off with something nice, like a nice white beater. A what? My mom immediately turned off the television and instructed me to get a pen and paper, and that is the day that my mother and I wrote a very strongly worded letter to Tyra Banks and her production team saying how she's expecting to be the new face of daytime talk show. She should really think of how her verbiage and vernacular is being used, and by using words like wife beater, it's demeaning to millions of women around the world who are subjected to that kind of abuse every day. Which is not, my mom's right, but that's an insane letter to send as Tyra Banks. Well, obviously we never heard back, because I got like fan mail. And then I would say, in 2007, I finally got my braces off, and the braces came off, boyfriends came in, and plural I mean one. And I remember trying to keep it on the down low because my parents are obviously not equipped to deal with that. But they somehow like figured out through the loophole that like he was going to be coming up north with us, and like, it was a whole big deal. But I remember them figuring it out, and they were like, oh, okay. Cool. And I was like, oh, my parents have chilled out. We're cool now. Like, okay, parents. So I continued packing to go up north. No. My parents went to Barnes & Noble's bookstore, and they purchased a book entitled Every Young Woman's Battle. And this was a book, I do believe probably a co-author of God. And in this book, we sat down, my boyfriend at the time, me, and my parents, and we went through the book together. And it had some fun quizzes in it that you could take. Not as a family, but did we do it? Yes. And it showed how if you're wearing a spaghetti strap tank top, your whole hand has to cover it, otherwise you're a whore. And if you're wearing shorts and your fingertips can touch your bare legs, Jezebel. We ended up dating for 4 years. It was insane. I really don't know how it happened, but longest relationship to date. Wow. Between like the rainbow parties and Tyra Banks and like Every Young Woman's Battle, I don't believe that the rainbow parties ever really happened, you know? I think that those are like just things that live in our memories now. It's kind of similar to maybe some of the youths here, you know? Like, remember when we wore like the colored rubber bracelets and Fox News was like, if your child's wearing a colored bracelet, like red means they drink blood, black they don't belong. And my mom's like, what does blue mean, Margaret Mary? And I'm like, I don't know, Stephanie Scott gave it to me at sleepaway camp. Like, I haven't done anything. But I hold some of these parties and like urban legends kind of just, they exist, similar to like Marilyn Manson removed some of his ribs so he could suck his own dick. Like, that didn't happen. Who am I to say? Should go without saying that I was born in a very religious family. Is everyone feeling really good after Easter? Easter's over. Easter's over. I loved Easter as a kid because Easter to me was basically like my third attempt at a New Year's resolution. Because you had New Year's resolutions and that was for a whole year and you're like, what? No. And then Chinese New Year came and you're like, oh, I'll give it another go. And then Lent, you're like, oh, I don't have to do something for 40 days? Easy peasy. So to me, that was great. To my mom, that was her version of like the Holy Trinity when she's like, oh, now I have to give up everything for Lent. So growing up as a child, no TV, no video games, no sugar, no snacks. I was basically living like an Amish Luddite for 40 days and 40 nights, so it's horrific. But I have Emmy Fisher, Morgan Stinson, and the Liggett twins to thank, because their birthdays all fall over the Lenten period, which meant when they had their sleepover birthday parties, later losers, I was waking up early to watch the cartoons, I was going to bed late, I was watching the DVD screen, I was eating any type of food, pizza, meat, you name it, it was in my mouth, time of my life. Well, my mom eventually figured out that that was like my little plan. So one year, that woman called Morgan Stinson and was like, hi, Morgan's mother, I just want to let you know, like, Margaret is abiding by Lent, so she will not be able to eat any meat because it's Good Friday. She can't eat any of the birthday cake because she gave it up for Lent, and no TV because that's also for Lent. And Morgan Stinson's mom was like, she's coming? Okay. So for that birthday party, I sat on the kitchen floor and I played with her 9-year-old dog, who was a white Maltese named Whitney, until about like 11 o'clock at night. And all the while, like, I can hear the birthday candles, I can hear the birthday celebration. They're eating candy, they're about to watch Jeepers Creepers, and I'm clearly like petrified. And Morgan's mom was like, maybe like call your mom again and like ask. And I was like, good idea, for sure. And I called my mom and was like, hey mom, like, things are getting real fucking weird because you've let me come to a birthday party that I can do nothing at. And for a reason that I still don't know, we have this like uncle, he's not my uncle, but like we call him my uncle, but he's a priest, so Father Danny, he's in our family. I don't know how he's running into me to this day, no idea. Well, my mom at 11:05 gives me Father Danny's number. She's like, call Father Danny and see what to do. So I call Father Danny and I'm like, hey, here's the sitch. And he was like, your parents let you go to a sleepover and expect you to do nothing? I was like, I know, it's like really serious, like what can I do? Like, it's this Lent thing. And he's like, okay, just like say the Hail Mary and like the Our Father 5 times each and like we're good. And I was like, that's it? For the rest of my like childhood career, anytime I did something bad, I just said, oh, God, I'll do the name. And I'd be like, oh, it's done, it's over, no penalties, it's great. But that was traumatic. Other things that have affected me lately and have made me who I am. My brother just died recently, which was a doozy. All death is a doozy, but he it was a suicide, so obviously not ideal. None of death is ideal. You understand what I'm saying? He's no longer with us. But yeah, I've been going home a lot to help my parents out with certain situations and keeping them company. But my brother was recently cremated, and I remember telling my dad, I was like, oh, for lack of a better like wording, is there any way that I could like have some of Ryan here and like do something with him? He like loved the outdoors and hiking in nature, like maybe. My dad said, absolutely not, like he's getting buried in the columbarium in the wall of the church, like your mother and I decided on it. And I was like, okay, tough guy, I'm not gonna argue with you. And I remember talking to my therapist. Anybody else in therapy? Woo! Thank you so much. I know. I know. But I was talking to my therapist and I was telling her how it was really bugging me. And she's an adult woman and she just suggested, well, Margaret, just like steal somewhere. And I was like, okay, yes. So I went home with every intention of stealing the Declaration of Ryan's Independence from the Catholic Church. And I walked into the parishioners building and I was like, hello, good day. I'm a family member of the deceased, may I see him? And they're like, oh no, actually you can't see him until the day that we bury him, you have to come back in 3 days. And I was like, great, I needed to actually work this out in my head more. Thank you so much. So in the span of those 3 days, I more or less like hollowed out a chopstick tube. And my idea was just to kind of like get my brother and then scoop him and put him in my pocket or something. Just so I could like have a part of him elsewhere, you know, that was my whole idea. So I go back a few days later and I'm like, hello, it's me again. Hi. My brother, please. And I expected them to like lead me to a private room with like a pew and like a crucifixion with Jesus and thorns. And they all just like hand him to me and just stare. And I was like, oh, heavier than I thought. There's nowhere to go, so just kind of like turn around and like. It's basically like a Jenga set. You know? So I'm wondering like, oh, maybe it's like a suction thing, like I have to like slowly lift it up. and they see me kind of like twirling about, and they're like, oh, it's definitely sealed. And I was like, yeah, obviously, I was making sure. And they're like, you'd be surprised how many people try to steal their loved one's ashes. And I was like, that's horrible, that's bad. So I rushed back to my parents, and they're like, oh, what's going on in there? I'm like, you don't even want to know, it's crazy. And the whole time, before my brother died, he was extremely atheist. So like I knew that this is not what he would have wanted, but it made my parents feel better, so I was just going with it. But the whole time the priest was saying how when we lower Ryan into the ground of the wall of the church, like we are giving over his mind, his body, his spirit to the Lord our God, Jesus Christ. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot. Ooh. And I was expecting for the priest to kind of lower him in. No. Time came, and he kind of just did like a sidestep batter up situation. And I was like, oh, my dad's for sure going to take the reins on this, for sure. And my dad's like, I think we should all do this together, the four of us. And I was like, really? I don't think we all need it. That seems, it's a tiny little box. Okay, so we all had fingers on each side of him, and we kind of light as a feather, stiff as a brother, lower him gently into the wall. Which I know is what my parents wanted. I did, but obviously my mom, like overcome with emotions, she kind of dropped her end of the bargain, and he did take a tumble. Fortunately for my parents, like it didn't open. Tragically for me, I couldn't steal it. But it's still just something that like really bums me out, you know. And thinking about, you know, death in general, who isn't, you know? Anyway, I then crunched with some numbers, and I have realized that I've gone to over 86 funerals in my life, which is honestly like illegal and rude. Like, what the fuck? 86? But that's my body count. That's the body count that counts. To be very clear. But I've been thinking about how I want my funeral to be, and just, you're here, you're all invited. I do want it to be kind of like an RSVP kind of affair, so I do want everyone to kind of be honored to be invited. And if you're not invited and you do show up, like at least make a scene about it. Like I want there to be drama, I want there to be something else to be talked about. I do want my obituary to be read kind of in like a haiku rap. I have asked my best friend Kate to do it back in January, and she just laughed. So I don't know if she's actually going to be doing it. Time will tell. But I think the most important thing that I really want to focus on is the delegation of the wills and what I'm calling my won'ts. And my wills is like, where's my best friend who is my cat Ernie gonna go afterwards? Who's gonna be left with my offshore bank account, my Venmo balance? Well, the really important things, like who's gonna get the things that I love and cherish most in this world? The won'ts, those are saved strictly for my enemies. Those are for the people that have wronged me, those are the people that I hate. You know? I want those people to be responsible of like canceling my Planet Fitness membership. And I want them to be responsible for like returning my Xfinity cable box, returning Blockbuster VHSs and Detroit Public Library books that I still have out and have accrued insane fines, you know? That's kind of how I want that to work. So if any of you have any ideas of things that you'd like to do, we can talk about it afterwards. I'm sure we can find you a role. And I'm sure you're all wondering by this point, I guess I should have addressed it earlier in the show, but I don't know, it just sounded, I'm sure you're all kind of realizing that you like recognize me, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Where is she from? And I know, trust, I know, I get this all the time. And as a child, like I wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a performer. And I would say 1998 was a pretty good year, not in terms of like success per se, just in the sense that there was like a lot of opportunities. Like I did audition for Barney's, I lost it to Selena Gomez. I was in a lot of Sears catalogs, I was in some Detroit commercials. But 1999 was really the year. And when I look back now, I think like, oh, my mom was never really proud of me. I can look back on moments like this and be like, in 1999, she was. Because that, my friends, is when I landed the role of the century. And I became a model. And it was honestly tough. And I'm sure I'll give you a better idea of like who I look like. Maybe it'll give you a better idea. But I would say from like 2001 to 2004, I was an American Girl doll model. Midwest Circuit, which meant that I got to go to different malls and nursing homes and rec centers. And her and me, we ran the world. Basically, Kirsten Larson, 1856, came from Sweden to Minnesota to work the frontier with her family. And I got to be by her side every step of the way. So I would basically be dressed in clothing, but I wanted to give you the raw deal here. I'd be wearing matching outfits and we'd walk up and down the runway as someone would be over the speaker telling our story. That's cool, right? But there were, I think there were 5 American Girl dolls in general that were like the top notch, but it was honestly Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten. We were the original plastics. And I just, it was hard because I was 9, 10, 11, and 12, and like I had nothing to reference, like how to be this woman who's working on a farm with cattle. Like I had the slightest idea, but I think I'm better for it, and it has changed me. And I don't know, that's showbiz, baby. Who's been at Solocon, who's in Edinburgh Fringe Festival, but he's going to take it away. Thank you so much.